in a while, and I'm excited.
This isn't a training. It's definitely a conversation starter, but it's a heads up. Hello, my name is Marcia Shannon. I've spent as much time as a business analyst as I have as a technical writer. Wore both hats most of the time. I got to thinking about something that happened at my last job. We had 5 business analysts and we had to do something. We had a small project, small deliverable, no big deal. But for some reason, we all 5 went off in different directions. So we're standing in the hallway, just, trying to get our ducks back all in a row. And I said, we just need to apply a little project management to this. Now, I'm talking about a very large company. They don't just have departments, they have fiefdoms and baronies and all sorts of lines of hierarchy. Anyway, I'm rather new. The other folks are rather been there a much longer time. And they look at me and they go, we can't bring the PMO into this. The company had a whole department dedicated to project management, the project management office. I was just thinking, let's take a logical approach. So before y'all get confused by that kind of situation, I thought I'd like to show you how you can use project management in its simplest form to keep control of whatever project you're working on. So I'm going to share, I'm going to share my slide deck. And we'll see how things go. All righty. Everybody comfortable, ready to go? And I'll see if I'm able to work. Best way to start the conversation is to just agree on a project management definition. The Project Management Institute is an organization similar to the Society for Technical Communication. They are the people who define what project management is for whatever industry, enterprise, effort may want to use that type of control mechanism for getting from point A to point Z. Simple as that. But this is their definition. I included their website. They also offer lots of information. Again, just like an STC website, there's lots of information. They give you coaching and training, and they define who uses this and how they use it. And it's a good first stop if you're brand new to project management and you have to be able to talk the lingo. But project management is the use of specific knowledge, skills, tools, and techniques to deliver something of value to people. Lots of information, but then they give you nice examples, a business process, construction, anything that you have to do. It's probably a project. From a different PM site, found this nice little graphic, which shows you the 5 primary phases of any project management effort. And you can see, just reading left to right, you get it started, meaning somebody says, we want this done, and these are the people who are going to be involved. You go from there to planning, which means defining everything, lining up all the people, lining up all the resources, finding out who knows what and where and what departments, and figuring out when does this have to be done? How long does it take? Lots and lots and lots of planning. The bigger the project, the more planning it takes. And then right there in the middle, in other words, you don't start working as soon as somebody says do this. You start executing all those well thought out plans. You have benchmarks, you have milestones, you have KPIs, you have ways of figuring out, are we doing what we said we were going to do? Are all of our dependencies amongst various actors being met? And you keep working. This involves lots of meetings, lots of reporting when you're talking really big projects. The 4th phase is keeping track. How many hours have we spent? Were those the hours we budgeted? Are we on time? Are we finding problems? Have we figured out how to solve the problems? Is everybody delivering what they're supposed to deliver when? And if they aren't, how do we get them to do that? Eventually, those things work out. 3 and 4 work together. Somebody does something, somebody else measures it, somebody else reports it. The project close isn't just, oh, thank God that's done. And it's not just the troubleshooting. It's also postmortem, or a friendlier term, lessons learned. What did we do well? What did we really mess up on? What did we forget to even think about? How much did it really cost versus what it did cost, et cetera, et cetera. And you figure out how to archive all this information, how to incorporate it into new training going forward, et cetera, et cetera. I'm going to hush now. Who has questions?
Joan, I'm sorry, I didn't realize my mic was on. My mic was on when I coughed. Sorry.
You're fine.
Okay, once again, what is a punch list?
A punch list is this works especially when you do things like moving departments from one floor to another building. It's the list of all the things that aren't working or weren't delivered or need to be hooked up. So it's basically, we've got to get these done as fast as possible. We have to punch through this problem. Hence the punch list.
So they are unresolved problems or unresolved issues.
Yes, exactly. Thank you for
Okay.
giving me a much shorter answer.
Okay.
But
Thank you.
yes, you're welcome.
Marcia,
Yes, ma'am.
hey, so this is Vicky, and the first time I saw this presented, I was in an IT organization, and in phase 5, or the phase 5, they had the training, and I, of course, I was unhappy about that because I wanted to make sure that they included the training in all 5 of the phases, and that they said that training delivery was in phase 5. I don't know if you've run into that also. They kind of, you get to the end of the project and all of a sudden it's like, oh, we have to train people now. We've done this delivery. And I just want to make sure that everybody's encouraged to get in to the project team long before phase 5, so that the training doesn't have to be an afterthought or a last minute effort. I don't know if you've seen that, but it made me sad, and then it made me motivated to get the word out to the team that we need to be involved early.
Oh, exactly. And that's where what I'm calling freeform project management. My experience is in IT projects. And what we've just been looking at as the map from the 10,000 foot level is usually how they run. And there'll be one task or one line on a project report of write documentation or deliver training materials. And that's where your instructional designer, your technical writer will stop and have their own under the covers, as it were, or behind the scenes project. And that's where you take these same 5 phases and translate them to what you need to do to make that line, to meet that deadline or meet that deliverable, to deliver documentation, to deliver training materials, etc. Excuse me. And that's why I came up with this what. Business people will usually have this wonderful trust in their technical writing people that you'll figure that all out. And you won't have much presence in the project planning. They'll simply tell you, we're doing this, go figure out how to tell people about it. And sometimes it's small enough that you can just wrap your arms around it and get it done. And other times you're going to have to negotiate with how much time you really need, how much access you need to, say, have a demonstration of the product, talk to the people building it, talk to the people who are going to be using it, so you can make sure they know, you know what you have to train people on. All of those pieces are not going to be in the project plan that the company has. It's something you're going to have to build yourself. Boiling it down, you have these 5 things. Start it, figure it out, do it, make sure you stay on track, and make sure you get it all tidy and closed. Just that simple or complex. Here's the big secret. Project planning, project management does not need software. You can plan a project with paper and pen. One of my favorite projects, we were introducing AI. I can't remember. We were introducing a phone tree for customer service. We had a whiteboard, a dedicated conference room, and sticky notes. We broke it up into 5 phases, different color for each phase, and we simply got the sticky notes on the wall in the right order. When we had to change things, we changed things. It doesn't have to be a big deal to manage a project. You simply have to think about it ahead of time and then jump in and start doing things. And that's Freeform PM. You're doing project management for yourself, for your work. And you're fitting into the larger major project that the company is sponsoring as a whole. What do we think so far? I need feedback, please.
So Freeform, you're saying is more if you don't have like an official project manager role?
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
You are your project manager.
Oh, your own project. So you
Your-
don't have a team. Your team is just you, or
Probably you.
okay.
What it lets you do is you've got that initiation, obviously coming from somewhere else. Your boss is going to tell you, you're going to do the training materials for this new piece of software that's going to be rolled out in 6 months. Yeah, okay. You're going to sit down, you're going to get your hands on it. You're going to do your homework to figure out what is this thing. You're going to identify your subject matter experts, your technical experts, your audience, definitely. All the things we do as tech communicators. But you're also going to keep yourself in line with the total project by keeping those 5 phases in mind and meeting them as you go along, because you're going to see all the other deliverables usually in a project. Does it sound interesting or daunting?
It sounds too familiar.
I
Yeah. I was going to say it sounds too familiar. It's very good to know what title to include now.
Yeah, I like to have a name for this. I mean, this is exactly what happens at my company, right? There's the big development plan, and then, oh yeah, and there's the user documentation and the release notes and whatever else there is.
Mhm.
But then it's up to us as technical writers to put together the documentation plan, we call it. And we're actually just kind of starting to sort of standardize that within our own department, what that looks like, and kind of get our dev teams used to seeing a sort of standardized Excel spreadsheet that shows the phases that we're doing. So yeah, got it.
And what it allows you to do is, instead of being soloed or siloed, as the technical writing people take care of that, the instructional designers take care of that, you talk that lingo back to your managers, to the other people in the project, so that you make them aware. Yes, I know we're in the execution phase, and I think I need X more hours to make this deliverable. I need to pull another half of a resource in order to edit the writing, because it's always better to have 2 pairs of eyes than one on a document. Those kinds of things, so that you're talking to them in their language, as well as keeping track of where you are in the big picture. Basically, it boils down to this. On the left side, you have the 5 PM phases. On the right side, an analogy to what we do in TechCom. Receive assignment, of course, I just mentioned that. Your planning is all about, when do I have to get it done? Where's my information? Where are my people? Is this a 1-person or a 12-person job, et cetera, et cetera. Your execute, of course, we interview, we write, we edit, we review, and repeat, and repeat, and repeat. The monitoring is all throughout the project. If you're going to use subject matter experts, you've got to make sure they're going to be available. If you're going to ask for editing reviews, you want to get an appointment. You know, ask people to block a bit of time, and maybe it's 3 months from now. But you're going to get more cooperation when people know you're not going to just show up at their door with, I need you to read this by 3 o'clock. And it makes everything smoother. And of course, our close is publishing. All of our backups, our lessons learned, so we know, do it this way, not that way next time. What else would you add in here? No?
I don't know if you can see the chat, Marcia, but we've been talking about different ways to track.
Okay, I'm going to go into chat now.
Different kinds of software to use and stuff to track your progress.
Oh, yes. And really, it's when I got real formal training several jobs ago, it was all paper and pen, because they were deliberately software agnostic. That you need to know the concepts, you don't need to know how to work the software. And it was hard because we were used to Microsoft Project, and we had to let go of everything we were used to thinking about. And then we just had to look at a piece of paper and say, okay, software is necessary when there are more than 5 people involved. And you can track a project on a calendar. And again, you can track it with sticky notes on the wall. But yes, software helps you see problem areas. If you've got people consistently missing deadlines, if suddenly someone leaves and knows there are tasks that are not assigned to anyone, the software is absolutely necessary when you've got something that big that has to be managed. Yeah, Microsoft Project isn't something they include in any bundles. You definitely have to buy it separately. There's no reason not to use a Google document or spreadsheet. It really is as simple as jot down your 5 major areas, and then take them a little at a time. The calendar is probably a big thing. Ooh, Anita has a suggestion. Project Libre. We have lots of good, and Notion. Now we're going to need links to find these things, please. Sasha's right. Google is where you're going to share immediately and make everything a lot more transparent for everyone.
I've still seen issues with that though. Like my company uses Teams, so I'll put it on Teams and I'll share the link, and someone will download it to their desktop and edit it and then send out that file. Sometimes you have to get people on board.
Yeah, Teams is not great.
Oh, I like it if people will use it.
Well, use it correctly, and
Right.
that's the thing. To me, it's kind
Yeah.
of like an MC Escher painting, trying to climb around in Teams and the whole like Microsoft universe, the suite that links SharePoint and Teams and all those things. It's sometimes hard to find where you left stuff.
I'm well, I'm retired and I don't have a job at the moment, although I've got to find one because I'm going crazy. Not having that focus. I do have some major painting projects to do, and I am going to follow this method because otherwise I'll be ready to paint and I will be missing a tool I need or something like that. And then that was the example we got in training was, okay, you're going to paint your living room. What's step one? What's phase one? What are you going to do at the end? You know, wash out your brushes and put them away. So we already do a lot of project management without ever labeling it as such, without ever being totally conscious and mindful of what phase am I in and what's the next step. But taking the framework of the 5 phases gives you a constant framework to build whatever it is you're working on. Did everybody but me know that if you click on the ellipsis in chat, you can save your chat to your own machine?
Yes.
I don't know whether I was the last person to figure that out or not.
Thanks for saying that out loud. I didn't know that.
Thank you. Okay, I stumbled into it at Summit last year. There were just too many.
I'm not sure how it works on a phone though. I only know on a computer.
Okay, we need a tester, please. So what's been your experience working with enterprise-wide or big projects and your pieces? I know Vicky's told us about getting instructional design and tech writing into all of the phases, and there's such a good argument for that. This is the time for the war stories and lessons learned. And I've already shared, so it's your turn.
Hi, it's Jocelyn. I think for myself with the training, like during or in all of the phases, I definitely think it needs to be thought of, but I know in a previous experience, just recently when we were redesigning a new business process, new business area, I mean, a lot of the processes were evolving almost like daily. So I think if you were to try to do training, I think it'd be very difficult to train people along because they haven't even nailed. So what they kind of thought out they would do on, Friday, by the time we got to Wednesday, they'd gotten in more new information. Like it was it's actually a little bit crazy where we were trying to have this whole process ready by December 1st, and they didn't even start building the new tool to help support the team, which was going to be an Excel spreadsheet till maybe like 2 weeks before. So the training realistically started on December 1st when everyone, couldn't even see the new tool yet and kind of talked about how it was actually going to work. So it was really interesting where I know what they were thinking about and they were talking about it, about the process, but they really didn't, it was really crushed to the very, very.
It can be intimidating. And the only thing worse is the 2-hour group calls where 100 people have been invited to get on the phone and report their progress. Those are impossible. And that was before COVID. So I don't think it's any better now. Is this intimidating to anyone? I hope not.
No, actually, I come from an aviation background, and I realized that what you call project management is what we call pre-flight briefing, flight planning, execution, monitoring. It's basically the same thing. Pilots executing, the instructors monitoring, and then you have a debrief where you ask what went right, what went wrong, what events led to the mistakes or inefficiencies, and what do we do? Where do we need further training? I didn't realize I'd just been doing project management all along.
And given that computers for the public started in aviation, it wouldn't surprise me if PM isn't built upon the aviation model.
There was quite a bit of it. I got my my bachelor's in professional aeronautics over 20 years ago. I'm not going to say anymore. I've already aged myself. But yeah, a lot of the human factors and human resource management comes from the aviation industry.
I've seen some of the master's programs, including project management in their technical communications, professional writing type of degrees. So it's creeping in from the business side and also from the tech com side, it seems.
I'm a graduate of the UW project management certification. And before I came to Salesforce, I worked for the University of Washington, the professional and continuing education division that creates the technical writing program that you just mentioned. And yes, they're getting more integrated into project management. What I did observe being a student of the project management certificate is that it's almost exclusively focused on waterfall and not agile, which my current company uses to the exclusion of waterfall.
I've seen some Johnstown flood disasters when someone has really messed up with the waterfall concept. So I think agile is a much safer way to go. What would you recommend if someone says, hey, I don't know anything about project management. What should I do? Take a certificate course, see what you can figure out from online. You've got the better view of it than I do.
It's not a UW answer or a project management answer, but I suppose it's an instructional designer answer, which is begin with the end in mind. What is the performance change or the behavior change you have in mind? And it may be supported by software or organizational change, but until you imagine and dream, you can't get there. I don't know. I'm not sure that's a very good answer.
It's hard to just talk about project management in general because it is pervasive in most businesses, whether it's a consciously pursued methodology or it just informs more people's ways of getting their work done. But if you don't have an awareness of it and know what's going on around you, it can make it a little harder to get into the groove with the rest of the group, with the rest of the, with your coworkers sometimes.
So I did start taking Google Project Management Certificate on Coursera. Actually, yes, before I finish, will there be a point where we stop the recording?
Well, we're getting good information.
Okay.
If y'all would rather stop the recording, you're the ones talking, so it's your choice.
Okay.
What do you think?
I would, but if someone wants to speak and be recorded, go ahead.
So it's Laura, it's and everybody. Hi, it's Vicki. I have stepped outside. Typically, what we do is record. Right now, it's 5:34 Eastern. We'll record for a few more minutes, and then we'll turn it off. And then the truth comes out, right?
Okay.
But I'm glad you brought that up. I do want people to have a chance to share with each other on the recording some war stories that they want to tell, and then how about another 5-10 minutes? I'll stop the recording, and then the truth can come out. Is that all right?
Sure.
Sounds
okay.
Thanks.
Okay. Questions, comments, change of topic? I can talk forever, but I really don't want to.
Yeah, I wanted to, because I did a presentation 2 summits ago, I think, on a project management effort that I had been on, where the project was actually to develop a project management scheme for an IT organization, for a company-wide organization. We had a project management team in IT, we had a project management team in the manufacturing engineering. And so the idea was to get all of the project managers together and come up with an overall company-wide way of managing projects. And so we had all of these, what shall I call them, alpha dogs, right? Because project managers are used to having a lot of, power's the wrong word, but just having a lot of ability to determine what's going to go on.
Autonomy.
Autonomy, and with great power is great responsibility, right? And so this was a room full of probably 15 alpha dogs, and one day we kind of decided, how are we going to run this? And we did it as a project. And during the ideation phase, everybody had sticky tickets, and the sticky storm was crazy. It was, I bet you've been in a room too when you're trying to do either a scrum or a project management type of a model where you're doing the collecting and you're trying to figure out who are your subject matter experts and things like that. And everybody thinks their sticky ticket that they're putting on the wall is the most important. But we did eventually come to some consensus. And bottom line, we decided that every organization needed their own project management type system, that everybody had different deliverables, different measures of effectiveness, like you were saying, started with the end in mind. And so everyone had a different endpoint. And so the objective of the team to develop an overall project management system for the company, we decided to scrap that and let everybody develop their own internal systems the best way they could. And it worked great. But the sticky storm with the alpha dogs was a day. I took some pictures and I showed the pictures at the summit. It was an amusing day.
Can imagine. And it's really from a solo writer's perspective, it's simply a way for you to juggle multiple deliverables at the same time and keep track of where you are with each one. Because you've got, cascading due dates, and you may have stumbling blocks. You may not be able to get to a subject matter expert. You may not be able to get sign off on a final document and all those kinds of things. But this lets you keep it without having to memorize. It gives you a way to keep track of what you're doing and how you're doing it. It also, over time, is an archive of how long does it take to do things, or what was the better way to get this done or that done. So it's also an historical basis for change as you stay in a place or you keep growing into new places. Are we ready to dish and turn off the recording?